You may know Boogie2988 from his iconic Francis videos that were popular on YouTube in 2009 and 2010, or perhaps from his incredible weight loss journey that he's documented in his videos over the years. No one can deny that Boogie is a big name on the platform. However, in October 2023, documentary maker Mike Clum published The Dark, Sad Life of Boogie2988, which highlighted his huge downfall from the wealthy and popular creator he once was to the controversial and less successful creator he is today. Boogie is now widely criticised on the platform and he's steadily been losing subscribers. Today, we're diving into the psychology of Boogie2988. However, before we start, it's important to remember that discussing psychological traits in public figures requires sensitivity. We'll be examining observable behaviours and potential psychological factors, but not offering diagnoses or any judgment whatsoever. Over the years, many creators on YouTube have highlighted how Boogie comes across as negative, entitled, and manipulative.
But what matters is Boogie is untrustworthy. It is difficult to know when he is genuine. He is also extremely grating with his endless complaining.
These traits all link closely to narcissism. Let's take a look at the characteristics of narcissism, as defined by the Mayo Clinic. One of the most popular, well-known traits of narcissism is manipulation. Boogie's history of manipulation has been well documented by the internet. Here is a post on Reddit from 4 years ago, in which a former fan points out how Boogie appears to use his mental health as an excuse for his poor behaviour and to manipulate his fans into feeling sorry for him. After explaining they can no longer side with Boogie, it reads, "I have a bestie who deals with a lot of mental health. Seeing how they owned up to their mistakes, take responsibility, and do what they needed to save themselves, Boogie makes excuses, gaslighting, manipulate, and drain. I just at this point can't stand the man." A popular video by Christopher Tom also highlighted how Boogie has used both his weight loss journey and struggles with mental health to manipulate his fans.
The issue here is that he constantly emotionally baits his viewers who genuinely worry about his health and well-being, giving them all false hope that he will be better. This is just a cheap manipulative tactic to get views and money because he is never changing. More and more, people are starting to believe that Boogie only says these things to elicit pity and emotionally manipulate his viewers into supporting him.
Once I fully given up hope, was fully ready to go, once the internet has forgotten about me and you guys don't need me anymore and I'm not needed around anymore, I don't think I'll have any problem pulling the trigger.
Boogie has been seen on Twitter arguing with critics who label him as manipulative. In fact, this accusation seems to really bother him, and conversations about this have become quite heated. However, the Reddit megathread states that there was a time in 2012 when he admitted it. The thread claims Boogie once said, "When it comes to some serious, deep, important stuff, my skill set still relies on manipulation and anger and frustration. Today was one of those days. Today I had a conversation with a friend and I said manipulative, hate-filled, angry things, and hopefully it didn't cost me my friendship with that person." However, there is no citation for this source, and so it is important to take this with a pinch of salt. Whether Boogie admits it or not, many of his fans and ex-fans do believe he has extensively manipulated the fanbase over the years.
But if you're one of those people that are just a rage junkie, an anger junkie, a pearl clutcher, these are the people I despise. If I'm being honest with you, these are the people I dislike. And if I look down on you and you look down on me, but I look down on you, you must be a real piece of shit if I look down on you. You must be a real f***ing loser.
Narcissists will often express critical views of others. Boogie has been seen displaying a critical stance towards individuals he may deem less important or relevant.
My answer is f*** yourself. Eat shit. Eat shit and go f*** yourself. Suck every dick in the world and f***ing die. How about that?
It may be the case that Boogie holds himself in a higher regard than these people due to his perceived grand success and influence. For example, Boogie has been seen on many occasions fighting with his critics on Twitter and Reddit. In this leaked message, Boogie states he's even willing to go to jail if it means he can show his critics in a bad light. You may have also noticed how Boogie displays a lack of empathy. There have been instances where Boogie has seemed unwilling or unable to recognise the needs and feelings of others.
Well, if your parents aren't together, then you probably come from a broken home. You're probably going to get real angry when you start losing. So f*** her. And now she's dead.
Wait, the girl died?
Whoa!
Yeah,
she died at 39 of like fucking lung cancer. She had breast cancer and they beat the breast cancer, but then the treatment for the breast cancer gave her lung cancer.
So you had to go through that, bro.
Yeah, that's okay. All right. I mean, I didn't go through it. I'm still alive. She's dead.
You know, but if you think about it, a lot of some good came from all of that, in that health science was advanced many, many years. And that's one of the things that kind of made me have the mentality that I have. Nothing is black and white.
Someone says you can't put your finger into a clitoris. Somebody here doesn't have a scalpel handy. You say that fucker just right, you can wrap it all around your finger.
Boogie may claim this is dark humour. However, many would argue that some of these clips demonstrate insensitivity and lack of empathy towards others, particularly vulnerable or marginalised individuals. Narcissists struggle with criticism, and those that know Boogie will know that accepting criticism is definitely not his strong point.
And people don't understand that. F*** 'em. I don't care anymore. I honestly don't care. Oh, Boogie, you're lazy. F*** you. Oh, Boogie, you're not trying. F*** you. Oh, Boogie, you're the... F*** you. Go f*** yourself. I don't care. I don't care what you think anymore.
Boogie will often insult his critics' intelligence or mental stability for not agreeing with him or believing what he is saying. He will try to belittle them in this way, which is a common tactic used by narcissists.
I want you to know, I think you are the lowest of the low. I think you are the worst of the worst. I think that there are fucking rapists and Nazis out there who, even though they are rapists and fucking Nazis, they are more redeemable than you because at least they're doing something they fucking believe in. You are the worst. And that's what I think.
Boogie also appears to insist he's always right, and will argue with those who will say otherwise. He will fall deep into complex lies in order to prove he's correct, and can appear cocky and conceited, whilst clearly not telling the truth. Narcissists nearly always assume superiority in many aspects of their lives.
How many kids went on to get 4.5 million YouTube subscribers? Steven Williams!
There have been instances where Boogie appears to assume a superior stance, even in situations where his achievements might not support such a belief. This aligns with the narcissistic trait of expecting recognition and praise without substantial accomplishments. In Mike Clum's documentary, Boogie comes across as self-important and egotistical.
I like to hang out with beautiful women. Beautiful women. I never got to do that. The women I dated were pretty, sure, but they were like Arkansas 8s. Not LA 10s. She's definitely a little thicker than I necessarily would always go for, but there's nothing wrong with that. So I deserve to go to Disneyland with a beautiful girl, right? I deserve to go to New York and explore Times Square with a beautiful girl, right? Like, I deserve that.
With narcissists, failure is often attributed to other people. Boogie has demonstrated a consistent pattern of shifting the blame onto others when things go wrong. For example, when Boogie blamed the decline of his channel on a YouTube commentator who reported on his controversies, instead of looking within himself and reflecting on his role in these controversies and how it alienated many of his fans.
A young gentleman by the name of Christopher Tom who went on to destroy my career by signaling and broadcast signaling my mistakes and that Reddit thread and every stupid thing I've ever done. My YouTube channel's dying. My online career is dying. My reputation is gone for a lot of people, but I'm still standing.
This blame shifting has been observed in all aspects of his life. On another occasion, Boogie claimed he was doing well with his diet and reported this to thousands of proud fans, but then he was caught out for lying. Boogie's response? It wasn't his fault.
See that Boogie has uploaded a video talking about his 30 days of clean eating. However, as these images show, he failed at that. He admitted to it in a Reddit comment and also made a video talking about the failure. Boogie's excuse was that there was no healthy food at an event that he was attending for Mortal Kombat 11.
There is no healthy food. All they have is burritos and tacos and French fries and cheeseburgers.
From what he's achieved, Boogie can on occasion exaggerate this success and the importance of it. For example, Boogie has bragged about having millions of subscribers on YouTube and even used this as a justification for not getting another job, despite facing bankruptcy.
I'm not going to walk into some job when I have 4 million subscribers on YouTube. I'm one of the original YouTubers.
But with over 40,000 channels on the platform with at least 1 million subscribers, is this really as impressive as it used to be? Additionally, in recent years, Boogie's views have dropped. These days, his videos tend to gain around 20 to 30,000 views. 10 years ago, his videos got millions. It seems his superior stance and self-entitlement can no longer really be justified. People who are narcissistic have an exaggerated sense of importance and a constant need for attention and admiration from others. Boogie has demonstrated this constant need for attention in many ways, from his controversial opinions, nudity on Twitch streams, and making himself the centre of attention in sensitive situations that aren't about him.
So anyway, Attica blew up and the internet was not kind to him. He was dealing with what I'm dealing with on the Reddits and the 4chans and the tweeters and stuff. He was dealing with that in a very similar way. His mental health was also, like mine, not very good. And they got the result from Attica that they wanted from me. They wanted to drive him crazy. They wanted to drive him suicide. right?
Sense of entitlement comes hand in hand with expecting privileges and special treatment. This entitlement might manifest as requests for preferential treatment or an assumption that certain rules don't apply to oneself. We've already seen this in the Mike Klum documentary, when he talks about how he deserves to date the most beautiful of women.
So I deserve to go to Disneyland with a beautiful girl, right?
But another great example was in January 2019, when the release of the Resident Evil 2 remake was announced. Boogie went to Twitter to complain how he wasn't provided a copy of the game by the developers. In the industry, it's common for content creators to receive free games, but Boogie didn't, and he was mad. This perfectly reflects how narcissists insist on having the best of everything and expect others to give them it. So what could have caused Boogie to become the person he is today? Boogie2988 has been open about his challenging upbringing, facing significant trauma during his formative years.
First time I was abused, mentally, daily. Like just constantly getting screamed at. My mom laying in bed, praying to God to kill her, and oh, these kids are the worst thing that ever happened to me. You're the worst thing that ever happened. Like mentally, verbally, like constantly. Yeah. Physical abuse, it wasn't until my dad got sick when I was 10, 11, 12 that I ever was physically abused for the first time. But boy, she beat the... She was making up for lost time.
Yeah. Childhood trauma can have lasting effects on mental health and personality development, potentially contributing to learned helplessness and other psychological dynamics. Learned helplessness is defined as having experienced adversity, especially in childhood, which leads to a sense of helplessness, where an individual might feel powerless to change their circumstances. Factors such as physical and emotional abuse that Boogie experienced from a young age could have caused the development of learned helplessness, which he's taken with him throughout his life.
I am disabled. I am extremely depressed, so there's some mental health issues that we bring to the table. I am morbidly obese. I have no references, no work history, and no education. And when you Google my name, you might see rumors that I beat my ex-wife, and I am also a should mention I'm also a felon.
So how does this explain Boogie's controversial behaviour over the years? Boogie will often point out his misfortunes and seem to exhibit a sort of self-pity and learned helplessness. He seems to accept his situation and feels unable to change it for the better. Many have accused Boogie of constantly portraying himself as a victim and trauma dumping. This is particularly evident when he visits the job centre in Mike Klum's documentary. Boogie does also attribute some of his behaviours to his childhood. For example, he claims he really dislikes misinformation due to his mother's lies and manipulation as a child.
But that was one of her manipulation techniques, was to misinformation. So,
Yeah.
So one of the reasons I despise misinformation, especially the way it spreads on the internet, so much, it's like so frustrating.
That makes sense because, yeah, you definitely do highlight that and like how it gets spun and passed around.
This could explain his explosive rants and arguments with critics on Twitter when he feels they're in the wrong. Boogie does admit that he's triggered by some of the things he sees online due to his childhood trauma.
My biggest issue, I think, to this day is that I'm triggered just so easily, just so bizarrely easily. And I think a lot of it has to do with anything I associate with past traumas.
He also explains that he's grown up as a peacekeeper and would attempt to diffuse volatile situations involving his family.
This peacekeeping nature I had. I grew up being the peacekeeper in the home.
I would say in the home, was that your role? Was to try to like, it'll be okay. Like,
because if I could convince my mom not to get angry today, then I probably wouldn't get a hit.
He insinuates that this is why he can adopt the middle ground and opt for what he sees as an impartial view. This could explain some of his controversial statements, such as his take on the Holocaust, in which he tried to argue that good came from the tragic events. As a response to trauma, individuals may develop narcissistic traits as a defense mechanism to shield themselves from further harm. These defense mechanisms may include a heightened focus on oneself, an inability to effectively empathize with others, and a reliance on external validation for self-worth. Narcissists also struggle to adapt to change. Boogie has continued to spend money despite his plummeting bank balance and threat of bankruptcy.
I know I'm budgeting, but I immediately went to Amazon and bought a sound bar for $100. And then the next day, the TV stopped crackling, and now I have a $100 sound bar that I don't need.
There have been other major changes in Boogie's life, such as his huge weight loss journey and his divorce from his ex-wife. Life-changing events like these are stressful and difficult for narcissists to deal with, which could perhaps have contributed to Boogie's controversial behaviour over the years.
My brain is kind of in a situation where it's just chaos all the time. It's just chaos. This emotional stew in my brain all the time of positive feelings, negative feelings, numbness, frustration, and anger,
Narcissists also withdraw from situations in which they fear they will fail, and can become depressed and moody when they fall short of perfection. This is due to their secret feelings of insecurity and shame.
I know you think I need to get a real job, but I just want to let you know I'm not going to.
This is a perfect example of Boogie withdrawing from a situation in which he fears failure, and can be seen as a form of self-sabotage. So does Boogie himself believe that he has a problem? Boogie has made many comments on his mental health over the years, often expressing that he is depressed and suicidal. He has also made some claims over the years that he suffers from bipolar disorder. However, he has since retracted this and says it was never diagnosed. Most recently, Boogie himself has agreed that he's a covert narcissist.
I think covert narcissism is the right phrase.
He seems to recognise his tendencies to appear as a victim.
Like, oh, look at how pathetic I am. You should feel sorry for me. You would never be mean to me because I'm so pathetic, right? Oh, I'm so fat, I'm so weird, I'm so goofy, I'm such an old man.
However, he continues to project an image of superiority and arrogance. Boogie has also claimed that sometimes he's portraying a character. In a video with therapist Katie Morton, he says he's himself on YouTube, but plays a more dramatic and obnoxious character on Twitch.
I try to be the best version of myself as I can be, and that's the YouTube version of myself. When I'm on Twitch, for example, I go the opposite direction. I take like an Andy Kaufman-esque kind of angle, and I purposely engage, and I purposely am dramatic, and I'm purposely obnoxious and cringy, and so it's very different from what I do for YouTube.
However, as he uses both platforms for comedy, as well as detailing personal experiences and talking about real-world topics, it's hard to know what's a character and what's really Boogie. It's crucial to approach discussions about mental health and personal struggles with compassion. While we can observe behaviours and speculate on their origins, it's essential to remember that these observations don't paint a complete picture of an individual's inner experiences.